Hi, I'm Lynn McMullen, the Executive Director of the Peace Alliance, and I really just want to share with you some of the things that make me hopeful and excited about our work right now. And I think the first thing is that I want to share is that in the last year we've made the decision to diversify what it is that we're focusing on legislatively, and that we're including with the Department of Peace legislation Bill 808. We've also expanded to include something called the Youth Promise Act, and the bill number is 1064 by Bobby Scott. And why I'm so excited about this bill is that as we've worked on the Department of Peace, we get a certain amount of resistance of people who don't really fully understand or even appreciate the vision of the Department of Peace. But once you begin to look at what the Department of Peace would be doing, there are various areas, you might call them sectors of society that the department would address. And one of the most urgent sectors is youth and youth violence. And so I'll just give you a couple of things about youth violence I just want to put out there, which is that the number 2 cause of death for youth of the United States between the ages of 10 to 24, this is like all teenagers in the country, second cause of death, homicide. And when I found this out, I was personally so ashamed is the only word I could come up with, ashamed to live in a country where children were dying over murder, that our children are killing each other. The Youth Promise Act is so beautifully written and has 3 features to it that I think are so critical to making it work. One is the local control of the money. The bill requires that local councils be established that have mental health professionals, law enforcement professionals, judicial system professionals, as well as educators and juvenile delinquent service providers all collaborate on designing a plan for that particular city or town, and that then they will make decisions about how the money is spent. So it's really a tailored plan for every community to reduce youth violence in schools, in homes. And it has a broad range of how the money can be spent. It includes school-based programs, after-school programs. It can be nonviolent communication in a public school could be included in it. In juvenile delinquent halls, in the prosecutor offices, working with police and their relationships with youth. All of these things could be included, and by engaging the natural intelligence and engagement level at the local level, the best decisions can get made. And I think people who are concerned about government bureaucracy will be excited about the extent to which that local control of this money can oversee that the money is well spent. And the second thing that I love about this bill is that it requires that the programs that are funded are metrically driven. And what I mean by that is you have to document the specific measures you're going to use to determine how successful your work is. And so if you're not successful, you don't get funding. And the funding is requiring a metrically driven approach and the identification of what metrics will be used for any particular program in reducing violence, whether it be if you're going to do bullying and you're reducing bullying, then you track the number of fights on the playground, the number of times teachers must intervene, the number of times medical help is needed, and so on. By reducing those numbers, you can actually prove that this work is actually making a difference. And the third is that it's very visionary. It's a bold plan for putting gradually more and increasing funding into the program. It's a very visionary plan in the sense of the new structures it requires. And so because it's visionary and locally controlled and metrically driven, I have confidence that this legislation could drastically alter the future of our country. It would save children's lives. It'll help kids learn conflict mediation in their own schools. It'll help them with their own lives, their families, the communities they live in, and the government that they'll run when they're adults. So I feel like this particular bill is really a whole shift in the direction of our culture, and it could be one of the most exciting and hopeful things that we could ever do with our lives. The reason why Youth Promise is so critical to me at this time is because it's passable in this legislation. In these 2 years, it's passable, it's visionary, and it will make a measurable impact on the quality of life in our country and beyond. So thanks for listening, and I hope that you get involved and write your member of Congress and get involved in getting media coverage for this bill and begin to more seriously engage with what it will take to get it passed.